The confetti was still falling when my husband handed me divorce papers. Besties, if you think nothing can hurt worse than betrayal, wait until it happens while you're 7 months pregnant. And if you love high-drama BL stories that make you gasp out loud, hit subscribe right now. You already know we don't hold back. Because what happened next? I didn't see it coming. The venue smelled like vanilla frosting and roses. Pink and blue balloons floated above round tables dressed in satin cloth. There was a giant banner behind me that read, "Welcome Baby Hale, our baby." My hands rested on my stomach as guests clapped while I opened gifts. I was wearing a soft cream sweater dress that hugged my 7-month belly. I remember thinking, this is it. We survived the hard part. We survived the arguments. We survived the distance. Adrian had been different lately. More attentive. More present. Even smiling again. I thought we were healing. God, I was stupid. He stood near the back of the room in a charcoal suit. Hands in his pockets. Face unreadable. My alpha. Tall. Cold. Controlled. The kind of man who never showed weakness in public. When our eyes met, he didn't smile. My heart dipped. But I told myself, he's nervous. He's not good with crowds. I didn't know he was rehearsing a funeral. For our marriage. My best friend Leora leaned in and whispered, "He looks serious. Is he about to make a speech?" I laughed softly. Probably. He's been weird all morning. We both thought it was fatherhood nerves. The music faded. The room quieted. Adrian walked toward me. Slow. Measured. Every step echoing against marble floors. Someone handed him a microphone. I smiled at him. He didn't smile back. Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. My stomach tightened. He held it out to me, in front of everyone. "Open it," he said. No warmth, no affection, just instruction. The room chuckled awkwardly. People thought it was part of the party. I took it. My fingers trembled. Maybe it was a letter. Maybe it was something sweet. Maybe. I unfolded the paper. The first word I saw was petition, then dissolution of marriage. The room tilted. I blinked. Once, twice. My brain refused to process it. This wasn't happening. The confetti machine in the corner released another soft burst of glitter. It landed on the divorce papers in my shaking hands. Adrian took the microphone back. "I think we both know this marriage isn't working," gasped. A wine glass shattered somewhere behind me. My ears rang. I looked up at him. "Adrian!" My voice cracked. "What is this?" He didn't look at my stomach. He didn't look at our guests. He looked at me like I was a contract he regretted signing. "I'm filing for divorce," he said calmly. "Effective immediately." A murmur spread through the room like wildfire. Someone whispered, "She's pregnant." Someone else, "Is this a joke?" I searched his face for anything. Guilt. Regret. A sign this was some twisted surprise. Nothing. Just ice. "You couldn't wait?" I whispered. "You couldn't wait until after today?" His jaw tightened. "This is the right time. The right time, on our baby shower day. In front of our families, our friends, my coworkers." Humiliation burned hotter than the lights above us. I felt exposed. Stripped. Displayed. I swallowed hard. Why? The question felt small compared to the destruction around me. He hesitated. And for 1 second, one single second, I saw doubt in his eyes. Then it vanished. He leaned closer so only I could hear him. "You know why?" I didn't. I truly didn't. "I don't," I whispered. He straightened, took the microphone again, and said the words that shattered everything. "I won't raise another man's child." The room went dead silent. Dead. My heart stopped. What? My voice barely existed. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't shout. Didn't accuse dramatically. He delivered it like a boardroom decision. "The baby isn't mine." The world exploded. Leora stepped forward. "Are you insane?" My mother gasped, hand covering her mouth. I felt every pair of eyes in the room land on my stomach. On me. Judging. Questioning. Calculating. I shook my head violently. "That's not true." Adrian's expression hardened. "I have proof." Proof? What proof? I had never cheated. Never even thought about it. While he was working late. while he was distant, while he was cold, I was at home, waiting, carrying his child. You're lying, I whispered, but my voice didn't sound strong. It sounded broken. Adrian took a folded document from the envelope. I had the paternity test run early. The words punched the air out of my lungs. You what? I won't be made a fool of. The cruelty in that sentence sliced deeper than the accusation. Guests started stepping back, whispering, phones subtly lifting, public humiliation. At my baby shower, I felt my baby kick, hard, as if even he sensed the tension. I placed my hand over my stomach protectively. You're wrong, I said louder this time. That child is yours. He stared at me, cold, detached, final. Then you shouldn't have betrayed me. The room blurred. Tears slipped down my face before I even realized I was crying. Adrian, I whispered, voice shaking. Look at me. Look at me and tell me you believe I cheated. He did, and he said nothing. Silence was worse than accusation, because silence meant he'd already convicted me. I looked down at the divorce papers again. My name, his name, our marriage reduced to ink. And then, from the back of the room, a woman laughed softly, not loud, not obvious, just enough. I looked up. She stood near the gift table, elegant, poised, wearing a red dress, and on her wrist, Adrian's platinum bracelet, the one he told me he lost 3 months ago. Our eyes met, and she smiled, slowly, like she had already won. As Adrian turned away from me, I pressed a trembling hand to my stomach and whispered the only thing I knew for certain. I didn't cheat. And as the woman in red stepped forward beside my husband, I realized something far more terrifying than divorce. Someone wanted this baby gone. Besties, if your husband accuses you of cheating while you're 7 months pregnant, you cry. If he does it at your baby shower, you survive. But when you realize he might not be the victim, that's when things get dangerous. The guests didn't leave immediately. They lingered, whispered, pretended to check phones. No one wanted to miss what happened next. I was still standing under that stupid "Welcome Baby Hail" banner when Adrian stepped down from the stage. He didn't come to me. He went to her, the woman in red. She didn't even look surprised, like she had rehearsed this moment. Adrian leaned close to her and murmured something. She placed a hand on his arm, possessively, in public. My stomach twisted. Who is she? Leora hissed beside me. I didn't answer, because I already knew. That wasn't a stranger. That was a replacement. I forced my legs to move. Each step toward them felt like walking through glass. Adrian, I said steadily. He turned, but not fully toward me. Half-turned, like I was already becoming irrelevant. Who is she? I asked. The woman smiled first. I'm Celeste. Of course she was. Elegant name, elegant dress, elegant timing. And what are you to my husband? I asked. Adrian answered before she could. She doesn't need to explain herself to you. Excuse me? I blinked slowly. I'm still your wife. For now, he said flatly. The cruelty wasn't loud. It was controlled. That made it worse. Celeste tilted her head sympathetically. You must be overwhelmed, she said softly. Overwhelmed? You show up at my baby shower wearing my husband's bracelet and I'm overwhelmed? She didn't flinch. Interesting. That told me something. She wasn't threatened, which meant she believed the outcome was already decided. I turned back to Adrian. You said you have proof, I said. Show me. A flicker crossed his face. Hesitation. Very small. But I saw it. He unfolded the document, held it up between us. Early paternity test. Non-invasive prenatal testing. 99.9% exclusion. I stared at the numbers, the medical terminology, the date. My brain locked onto it. The test was processed 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, Adrian had been on a business trip. Out of town. Out of state. Not home. Not near me. You did this without telling me, I said slowly. Yes. You used my medical records. Yes. You tested our child without my consent. His jaw tightened. I had to protect myself. Protect himself. From what? His pregnant husband? Something wasn't adding up. I know who I am. I know what I've done. And I know what I haven't done. I never cheated. Never. Which meant there were only two possibilities. Either 1. The test was wrong. Or 2. Someone wanted it to say that. I looked at Celeste again. She wasn't watching me. She was watching Adrian. Waiting. Almost anxious. As if she needed him to finish this quickly. Like this public execution had a deadline. Who ordered the test? I asked. I did, Adrian replied. Through which lab? Silence. Adrian. He didn't answer immediately. And that pause? That pause told me everything. Celeste stepped in smoothly. It was processed privately. Through a specialist my family knows. My family knows. There it is. This wasn't just suspicion. This was influence. Money. Connections. Control. My baby kicked again. Harder this time. As if demanding defense. I pressed my palm against my stomach. You really believe I betrayed you? I asked quietly. Adrian didn't look at my stomach. He looked past me. I believe the results. No, he wanted to believe the results. There's a difference. Leora suddenly grabbed my arm. Wait, she whispered urgently. When was this test done? 2 weeks ago, I replied. Her eyes widened. That's impossible. Why? Adrian snapped. Leora turned to him sharply. Because he had a full scan that same week. St. Mary's. I was there. They didn't take extra blood. They didn't run any additional testing. The room went still. I slowly looked back at Adrian. His expression changed. Just slightly. Celeste's smile disappeared. Just slightly. Private labs don't need hospital coordination, Celeste said quickly. Too quickly. I felt it then. The shift. The crack. Something was off. And for the first time since this nightmare began, Adrian looked unsure. I stepped closer to him. Lowered my voice. If this child isn't yours, I whispered, then explain something to me. His eyes met mine. Explain why your mother congratulated me 3 days ago for finally securing the Hale heir. His face drained. I saw it. Pure shock. Celeste's head snapped toward him. What did you just say? She asked. I kept my eyes locked on Adrian. She said she was proud of you. That this baby would settle the board. The board. His company board. His inheritance. His father's will. I watched realization dawn in his eyes. Slow. Terrifying. Someone had moved pieces behind his back. And he hadn't even noticed. Celeste took a step back. You're twisting things, she said. But her voice wasn't steady anymore. I took another step toward Adrian. If you wanted out of this marriage, I said softly, you could have asked. But accusing me of carrying another man's child? I shook my head. That's not suspicion. That's strategy. His throat moved as he swallowed. And for the first time, he looked at my stomach. Not with anger, with doubt. The guests were no longer whispering. They were watching. This wasn't humiliation anymore. This was unraveling. Adrian looked down at the test again. Then at Celeste. Who handled the paperwork? He asked her quietly. She froze. It was arranged, she replied. By who? He demanded. The air shifted. She didn't answer immediately. And that hesitation cracked the room open. I felt tears sliding down my face. But this time, they weren't helpless tears. They were angry ones. You tried to destroy me, I said softly, while I was carrying your child. Celeste's composure shattered for a second. You don't even know if it's his, she snapped. There it was. Not confidence. Not certainty. Fear. Adrian's head slowly turned toward her. You told me the results were verified, he said. They are. By who? Silence. Heavy. Deadly. And then, from the entrance of the venue, a calm voice echoed through the hall. I can answer that. Every head turned. A tall man in a navy suit stepped inside. Confident. Unbothered. And holding a leather briefcase. I knew that face. Everyone in this city knew that face. Daniel Vale. Adrian's biggest corporate rival. And the only man who had publicly challenged the Hale Empire last quarter. He walked straight toward us. Eyes on Adrian. Then on me. Then on Celeste. And finally, on the divorce papers still in my hand. I believe you're working with forged results, Daniel said evenly. The room exploded. Adrian stiffened. Celeste went pale. And I realized something chilling. This wasn't just about marriage. This wasn't just about betrayal. This was war. As Daniel opened his briefcase and placed a sealed envelope on the gift table beneath the Welcome Baby Hail banner, he said quietly, I ran my own test. And Adrian's face went white. When Daniel Vale said, I ran my own test, the room stopped breathing. Even the balloons felt frozen in the air. Adrian's voice came out tight. You had no right. Daniel didn't look at him. He looked at me. Actually, he said calmly, placing the sealed envelope on the gift table. I had every right. He asked for legal consultation this morning. Every head turned toward me. Adrian's eyes snapped to mine. You went to him? He asked, disbelief replacing anger. Yes, I replied steadily, because when your husband publicly accuses you of carrying another man's child, you stop worrying about pride. You start worrying about survival. Celeste stepped forward quickly. This is absurd, she said sharply. Corporate rivals interfering in private matters? Daniel finally looked at her. And lab technicians interfering in medical records? He asked mildly. Her face drained. There it was again. That crack. Adrian grabbed the envelope from the table. Enough theatrics, he snapped. This is my family's matter. Then open it, Daniel replied calmly. No aggression. No shouting. Just certainty. The kind of certainty that makes powerful men uncomfortable. The confetti from earlier was still stuck in my hair when Adrian tore open the envelope. He unfolded the paper. His eyes moved. Stopped. Moved again. Slower. What does it say? Leora whispered from behind me. I didn't look at her. I didn't look at anyone. I watched Adrian. Because his face told the story before his mouth did. His jaw tightened. His breathing shifted. His hand trembled. Just slightly. Adrian, I said quietly. He didn't answer. Celeste stepped closer to him. It's fake, she insisted. It has to be fake. Daniel folded his arms. It's from St. Mary's, he said evenly. Same hospital where his prenatal care is registered. St. Mary's. Not a private lab. Not Celeste's family connection. Official. Traceable. Auditable. I felt my heart pounding in my ears. Adrian finally spoke. It's a match. The words barely left his mouth. But they detonated the room. Gasps. Whispers. Phones lifting higher. Celeste's composure shattered. That's impossible, she snapped. Adrian turned to her slowly. You told me it was verified. It was, she insisted. By who? He demanded again. Her silence answered louder than any confession. The board members near the front were no longer whispering. They were watching, calculating. This wasn't just a marriage scandal anymore. This was fraud, manipulation, potential legal liability. And Vale Industries does not tolerate liability. I felt something shift inside me. Not sadness. Not relief. Clarity. You believed her over me? I said quietly to Adrian. His eyes lifted to mine. For the first time all afternoon, they weren't cold. They were uncertain. I believed the evidence, he said weakly. You believed what was convenient, I corrected, because believing me would have required vulnerability. Believing Celeste required pride. Daniel stepped forward again. There's more, he said calmly. Adrian's head snapped toward him. What do you mean, more? Daniel removed another document from his briefcase. Bank transfer records. Large ones. From a shell company tied to Vale subsidiary accounts. Transferred to a private laboratory. 2 weeks ago. The same date as the early test. Adrian stared at the numbers. Then at Celeste. You accessed internal funds? He asked slowly. Her voice cracked. I was protecting you. There it was. The same justification. From both of them. Protection. Protection always sounds noble. Until you realize it means control. You forged medical results, Daniel said calmly. Using company resources. That's not proven, Celeste snapped. It will be, he replied. The weight of that sentence pressed against the room. Because once corporate legal got involved, this wouldn't stay private. Adrian ran a hand through his hair. The perfect alpha mask finally gone. You lied to me, he said to Celeste. Her eyes filled with something desperate now. You said he trapped you. You said the baby would secure your inheritance. You said your board expected an heir. She stopped. Too late. I saw it. So did Adrian. Inheritance. Board expectations. This wasn't jealousy. This was strategy. She didn't want Adrian. She wanted access. And the baby complicated her timeline. You told me you were pregnant, Adrian said quietly. The room froze again. Celeste didn't deny it. My stomach dropped. Of course she had. 2 pregnancies. One legitimate. One strategic. Only one could survive publicly. You said it was mine, he continued. Her silence confirmed everything. The humiliation shifted. Not on me anymore. On him. Publicly. In front of investors. In front of family. In front of the board. He had accused his pregnant spouse of cheating, based on a lie constructed by the woman he trusted. I felt my baby move again. Strong. Alive. Real. Say it, I said quietly. Adrian looked at me. His pride battled his shame. Say what? That you were wrong. The room leaned in. Every camera trained on him. Every shareholder calculating. He hesitated. And that hesitation told the board everything they needed to know. But then, he exhaled. I was wrong. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But it was public. And it was recorded. Celeste stepped back. You're choosing him? She asked incredulously. Adrian didn't look at her. He looked at me. I chose facts. Too late. Facts don't repair humiliation. Daniel closed his briefcase. This won't stay contained, he said to Adrian quietly. Your legal department will contact you. Adrian nodded once, because he understood. This wasn't just marriage falling apart. This was power shifting, and power never shifts quietly. As guests began whispering again, this time about fraud, about corporate misuse, about forged results, I felt strangely steady. I wasn't the accused anymore. I was the one wronged. But something inside me didn't feel victorious. Felt cautious. Because Adrian was staring at me now. Not cold. Not distant. But calculating again. And I knew that look. He wasn't thinking about love. He was thinking about damage control. He stepped closer to me. Lowered his voice. We'll fix this, he said quietly. Fix. Again. You accused me in front of everyone, I replied. You handed me divorce papers at our baby shower. His jaw tightened. That was before I knew. You knew enough to humiliate me. Silence. And then he said something that changed everything. The divorce still stands. The air snapped. Leora gasped. Daniel's expression sharpened. You were wrong, I said slowly. You just admitted it. Yes, he replied. But this marriage was breaking long before today. My heart stopped. He wasn't divorcing me because of cheating anymore. He was divorcing me because he wanted out. The accusation was just an exit strategy. And that hurt more than the lie. The room was still watching, still recording, still calculating. Adrian straightened his jacket, regained composure. If you want to continue this discussion, he said evenly, we'll do it privately. He turned to leave. Celeste stood frozen behind him, her empire crumbling. But mine was just beginning to shift. As Adrian reached the door, I said the only thing that could stop him. If you walk out now, he paused. You won't just lose your husband. He turned slowly. You'll lose your child. Silence. Pure. Heavy. And for the first time since he handed me those papers, I saw fear in his eyes. Adrian didn't leave the venue immediately. He stood near the exit for a long time. Phone vibrating in his hand. Board members whispering behind him. Investors avoiding eye contact. And for the first time in years, no one was waiting for his instruction. Power shifts quietly, but humiliation echoes. By morning, the story had exploded. Not Omega cheats. Not corporate air scandal. But CEO accuses pregnant spouse using forged DNA test. The narrative flipped overnight. News clips replayed him handing me divorce papers. Slow motion. Zoomed. Comment sections brutal. How do you do that to someone 7 months pregnant? Divorcing him at the baby shower is wild. He believed another woman over his own spouse? The internet doesn't forgive easily, especially not pregnant betrayal. Celeste disappeared. No public statement. No press release. Just silence. Her pregnancy rumor was quietly withdrawn. Internal audit announced. Temporary suspension from all Vale-affiliated committees, which meant she lost access, and access was all she ever wanted. Adrian requested a private meeting. Again, I didn't go. Instead, I sent my lawyer, because this wasn't emotional anymore. It was legal and strategic. 3 days later, I was served with a countermotion. Emergency custody evaluation request. My hands went cold. He wasn't apologizing. He was positioning. If he couldn't control the narrative, he would control the child. Leora sat across from me at the kitchen table. He wouldn't, she whispered. He already did, I replied. Because the man who handed you divorce papers under baby shower balloons? He absolutely would. The custody filing claimed. Emotional instability caused by recent events. Instability. Because I cried at my own public humiliation? Because I defended myself? He was reframing again. But this time, I was ready. My lawyer didn't panic. His public denial weakens his credibility, she said calmly. Especially now that the forgery is documented. Good, because I wasn't just fighting for dignity anymore. I was fighting for protection. That night, Adrian showed up at my apartment. No cameras, no audience, no board members, just him. He looked tired, not polished, not composed, just worn. You didn't have to file for emergency custody, I said through the door. He exhaled. I panicked. There it was again. Fear disguised as control. You accused me publicly, I replied. You humiliated me. You filed for divorce. And now you panic. I don't want to lose my child, he said quietly. You tried to erase him. His jaw tightened. I was wrong. Yes. The word hung between us. Heavy. Final. He looked at my stomach. Really looked. For the first time since the scandal. The baby shifted. And something flickered across his face. Regret. You don't have to shut me out, he said softly. I'm not shutting you out, I replied evenly. I'm setting boundaries, because revenge isn't screaming. It's structure. I'll withdraw the custody motion, he said. I didn't respond. I'll make a public apology. Still silence. I'll rescind the divorce. That made me look up. His eyes were searching, not commanding. Searching. You don't want this to end, he said quietly. And for a moment, just a moment, the history between us hurt. The nights he used to hold me. The way he whispered about our future. The version of him before power became more important than partnership. But memory isn't reality. An apology isn't repair. You don't get to rewrite this because you're losing, I said calmly. His face shifted. I'm not losing. You are, I replied. You just don't know it yet, because what he lost wasn't board seats, or stock value, or public approval. He lost trust, and trust doesn't regenerate under pressure. I still love you, he said quietly. The words felt foreign, late, strategic, maybe even honest. But honesty after humiliation doesn't rebuild. It exposes timing. I believe you, I said softly, and his shoulders relaxed. Until I finished the sentence. But that doesn't change anything. The silence that followed was devastating. You'd really walk away? He asked. You walked first. He flinched. Not physically. Emotionally. I forgive you, I said, and his eyes lifted. Hope flickered. But forgiveness doesn't mean return. It means I refuse to carry your weight. Not that I'll carry you. He stepped closer. Voice low. We can fix this. No, we couldn't. Not because I hated him, but because I understood him now. And once you understand someone's capacity for humiliation, you never feel safe the same way again. You didn't just accuse me, I said quietly. You chose to believe I was capable of betraying you. He didn't answer, because he had. He chose convenience over trust. control over communication, image over intimacy. My phone buzzed. A notification. Vale Industries board announcement. Temporary leadership restructuring pending investigation. Adrian saw it too. His expression hardened. Pride resurfacing. Is that what you wanted? He asked. Power returning to his voice. No, I said calmly. I wanted you to believe me, and that's what destroyed him. Not revenge. Truth. He stood there for a long time, waiting for me to change my mind. I didn't. Finally, he nodded once. If you ever. I won't, I replied gently. That was the final cut. Not dramatic. Not cruel. Certain. As he turned to leave, he paused at the doorway. Will you let me be there when the baby is born? There it was. The real fear. I thought about it. About punishment. About pride. About justice. And then I said the only answer that wasn't revenge. Yes, but not as your husband. The words didn't need to be spoken. He understood. When the door closed behind him, I exhaled for the first time all day. Not because I won, but because I chose. And choosing yourself after humiliation? That's power. Labor didn't wait for stability. It came at 3:17 a.m. Sharp, sudden, unforgiving. I was alone when the first contraction hit. For a second, I panicked. Not because of the pain, because this was the moment he was supposed to hold my hand. And we weren't us anymore. By 4:02 a.m., I was in the hospital. White lights, monitors, controlled chaos. Leora was on my left. My lawyer had already ensured Adrian's name was legally recognized. Not because I trusted him, because my child deserved truth, not pride. At 5:18 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I knew who it was. I didn't answer, but I sent one message. It's time. He arrived 20 minutes later. No suit, no entourage, no composure. Just Adrian, breathing hard, eyes wide. When he saw me in the hospital bed, he froze. 7 months pregnant, pale, exhausted, still wearing the bracelet he once claimed he lost. His jaw tightened. I'm here, he said softly. I nodded once, because this wasn't about marriage. This was about birth. Labor strips you down, not just physically, emotionally, raw, vulnerable. There was a moment between contractions where I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw regret etched into his posture. He held my hand, gently, like he was afraid I'd pull away. I didn't, but I didn't squeeze back either. When our son cried for the first time, the room shifted. Everything else faded. Board scandals, divorce papers, public humiliation. None of it mattered in that second. Adrian broke. Tears fell freely down his face. He looked at our son like he was seeing purpose for the first time. I'm sorry, he whispered. Not to me, to the baby. And somehow, that hurt more. 2 days later, the apology came. Public statement. Recorded. No corporate filter. I accused my spouse falsely. I allowed manipulated evidence to cloud my judgment. I humiliated someone who did not deserve it. He didn't cry. He didn't dramatize. He took responsibility. And the internet softened. But not fully, because apologies don't erase memory. They just acknowledge it. He came to my hospital room the night before discharge. The baby sleeping between us. So small. So real. So permanent. I've withdrawn the divorce, he said quietly. I didn't react. I've stepped down from the board temporarily. Silence. I want to fix this. There it was again. Fix. He always wanted to fix. Repair. Rebuild. Reclaim. But some fractures don't heal the way they were. They heal differently. Stronger. Separate. I forgive you, I said calmly. His breath caught. Hope flickered across his face. But I didn't let it grow. I forgive you, I repeated. Because I don't want bitterness attached to my child. His expression shifted. Confusion. Fear. Realization. But forgiveness isn't permission, I continued. The room felt heavier. I won't return to a marriage where I was publicly disposable. He swallowed. I panicked. You chose pride. Silence. You chose control over conversation. His eyes lowered. You chose to believe a stranger over your partner. Each sentence landed calmly. No shouting. No tears. Just truth. I love you, he said quietly. And this time, I believed him. That was the cruelest part. Because love isn't the problem. Character is. I don't hate you, I said. But I don't trust you. And trust is oxygen. Without it, love suffocates. He reached toward my hand. Stopped halfway. Is there nothing I can do? There it was. The alpha reduced to a question. Yes, I said. He looked up quickly. Be a good father. The final boundary. Clear. Unshakable. Weeks later, I moved into a smaller home. Bright, quiet, peaceful. Not because I couldn't afford more, but because I didn't need marble floors to feel secure. Adrian visits every weekend. He's attentive, present, gentle. He doesn't miss appointments anymore. He doesn't miss milestones. But he no longer shares my bed. And he never will. One evening, as I rocked our son to sleep, Adrian stood by the door. You're stronger than I thought, he said quietly. I smiled softly. No, I replied. I just stopped shrinking. And that was the real ending. Not the scandal. Not the divorce papers. Not the public apology. The moment I realized losing him wasn't losing myself. He once handed me divorce papers under baby shower balloons. In front of everyone. Today, he hands me diapers and formula receipts. In private. That's not revenge. That's consequence. He didn't lose his child. He lost the version of me that would have chosen him twice. And that's something no apology can restore. If you watch this till the last second, you're not just a viewer. You're family. Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because the next story drops soon.